So.
And that sort of gets on to my next question, which is about that idea of specificity versus integration. And you've kind of covered that, but do you think you have any further advice for beginning teachers to ensure that they don't lose the specificity of the different disciplines, for example, within SOSE or within SOSE and the arts?
Yeah, I think that the first bit of advice is to have a really clear focus about what you want the kids to learn. That's one of the things that we sort of come backward and forward with in education circles is, clarity about what to teach, clarity about what to learn. And then you have all of the side debates about kids aren't learning about these things. So as a beginning teacher, I think you really need to have a clear focus about, what this particular set of learning experiences is going to deliver to kids. And once you have that, it's about making sure that the pieces of the key learning areas that you've put together really reflect the intent of the documents, of the syllabus, of the learning area. So, I think sometimes SOSE isn't the one that's in danger. It's more of the coloniser, I suppose. I think sometimes with the arts, there are certain parts, especially that last phase of arts experience where you talk about responding and reflecting. I think that can be a bit lost. The artistic product becomes the end product, and there's no reflection on what we've learned in terms of arts or SOSE. Another thing about integrating SOSE is to really focus in on the particular nature of the discipline within SOSE. We've actually, there's a couple of, I suppose there's probably a couple of schools of thought in SOSE. One is that it's all put there together so you don't have to worry about the nature of the discipline. I'm probably in the second school, which says you do have to actually understand a bit about what a historian does, what a geographer does, etc. Doesn't mean you have to be one, but just understand their processes and their focuses on the world. So I think that's an important thing to consider as well. It's kind of one of those things, but a really good integrated unit when you see one, but you can't advise, and you know ones that aren't working. Because most of the times they're not working because they're trying to cover too much. So. Okay.
Excellent. So that sort of brings us on to the syllabus documents themselves then, and how we might be able to use the syllabus documents to assist us with planning to, ensure that we have our focus and all of that. So I guess just a very general question to start with about how you think the QSA syllabus documents can be used to assist teachers to plan for integration.
Well, the notion of how useful the documents are is probably a fairly contentious one at this point in history. And the people doing this course are really at a juncture point, which is probably one of the terms we use in the new documents, of using the old syllabus documents, and there's a whole host of new stuff that is about to be introduced. The syllabus documents have been are useful, I suppose, for planning because they articulate what is the core, what is the important thing, the things for you to do. A lot of times people using those documents get bogged down in some of the other stuff in it. When I talk to groups of students and teachers, I talk about the centrepiece of those documents are the core learning outcomes. Everything else that's around that is to assist you to plan learning, teaching and assessment based on those core learning outcomes. So it's not that they shouldn't be leading you up sort of the dry gullies, and some people that happens to some people. The documents that, there's basically two parts of them in there, syllabus documents and the sourcebook guidelines. Now the sourcebook guidelines have some other things called sourcebook modules, which are examples of units of work. They're kind of the level above the unit of work. And the sourcebook guidelines are probably one of the areas that people need to discover early, because they have these things, a scope and sequence called sourcebook elaborations in there. and they actually give you some examples about what types of things could be learnt using these core learning outcomes. So I think that's a really important device for people to go back to. The second thing I said about is how we're sort of at the crossroads or a junction point between the new stuff and the old stuff. About 3 years ago, in the middle of 2005, the Queensland Government released a policy called the Queensland Curriculum Assessment and Reporting Framework Policy, and it was about reforming the curriculum in Queensland, and we've sort of halfway, maybe even more than halfway through that process. We've just published a set of documents called the Essential Learnings on the QSA website, and those essential learnings will become the centrepiece of the new syllabus documents. So the new syllabus documents, the plan at this stage is to begin work on those this year, but you should be able to use the essential learnings in the interim to plan to reform your curriculum. The essential learnings are really the essence of the syllabuses. So we've had complaints from teachers, especially middle years teachers, that you might have, and you probably hear it once you go out on prac, I suppose I'm talking to the students now, that there are thousands of outcomes. We can never cover any of those. It's a legitimate complaint, but not one one that's not founded in how you actually use outcomes. Outcomes are meant to be used together, not ticked off, as I referred to earlier. So, in response to that, the notion that there is too much curriculum, another notion that we need to improve our facilities for assessment, and we need to have clearer reporting. And thanks to the previous Commonwealth government, we were kind of forced into developing up a policy on that, and you may know about the A-to-E reporting scale. So what the QCAR project aimed to do was to develop these essential learnings for the key learning areas, give a number of assessment tools, including an assessment bank, to help with the implementation of the essential learnings. So what teachers will do in the future is to get those essential learnings, and they will become the curriculum intent, if you like, of their learning experiences. And there's a number of resources on the QSA website at the moment that will form part of the syllabus documents that should be able to assist you with that. And one of them, a particular one, is a planning document which, oh sorry. It's all right. Yeah. Scratching the microphone, is a planning document which may model effective planning using the essential learnings. So the documents are kind of in a bit of a transition period, but you have a wealth of them to use. The focus is, I think that anyone new to them, is to what is the core, the most important thing, and then to understand that the rest of the document assists with that. So that's probably one of the key things to use, and not to forget those sourcebook guidelines.